say a word about console apps. And the reason I bring this up is if you look at other textbooks or resources such as online videos, tutorials, a lot of those start with console apps rather than Windows Forms like we started with on day one. A lot of instructors, even inside of our district, teach C# using console apps. And the reason they do that is rather than having to address the GUI aspects from day one, they can focus just on the language, teaching you the language of C#. I know that students like to create Windows applications, and that's why they take this class. Therefore, I start with Windows applications from day one, and I don't really cover console apps. But they can be useful in terms of just simply testing a piece of code. You're probably not going to write any console apps for end users, but I just want to mention these because you will see these. So here's a console app running, and a console app is basically a command line interface. If you're old enough to remember the DOS days, when personal computers first came out, this will look familiar to you. In this console app, I'm revisiting that triangle calculator that we did as a GUI application a few lessons ago, and creating that as a console app and showing how you can find the same results using just the Swift language without a GUI interface. So in the console app, we have to specify all of our output. So I added some comments here about what this is about. It's a little harder to figure out what a console app is supposed to do because you don't have any visual cues. So we're going to make sure we provide those verbal cues for the user. So using our example, before of length of side A being 4, length of side B being 3, and I get the results that the hypotenuse or side C is 5, the area of the triangle is 6, and the perimeter of the triangle is 12. I press any key to continue, and that console app will close. So that's how a console app works. Let's go and create a console app in Visual Studio so you get a feel for that. So in Visual Studio, I'm going to select the console app, part of the .NET Core, and click Next. And I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Console Triangle Demo. I can choose where I want to have it saved, and I'll click Create. Here then is our environment, and you can see I have far less files here in the Solution Explorer than we did with the GUI interface because there's not those files defining that GUI interface. The main difference here is just simply in our code. We still have our namespace and our class, and then we have a method called main. And this kind of goes back to more of the C++ environments, and you see this in Java as well. In this case, the console simply writes the line hello world. I'm just going to run this, and there is my output of hello world, and then it adds some information here to simply close the window by pressing any key. If it didn't do that, then this window would just simply go away and you probably never see the results. So I'll press the Enter key, and we're going to change this a little bit, and I have pre-written my code so you don't have to watch me type stuff in. I'm going to paste my code for this particular project for doing the triangle, and what I'm going to do is walk you through the code. So as before, we had our variables that are type double, A, B, and C. Those are the three sides of the triangle, area and perim for the perimeter. And then here is where I specify what this program is going to do. And to get that output in our console, we would use console.writeLine. And then in parentheses, specify what it is that we want to display to the console app. So I have 3 lines here that simply say this application would determine the length of the hypotenuse, side C, the area and the perimeter of a right triangle, given sides A and B entered below. So the right line also includes a carriage return. So these would appear on 3 different lines. Now here's another one. This is console.write. It does the same thing. In this case, it's going to print on the console app, enter the length of side A, but doesn't include a carriage return. So our cursor stays after that line, and then I can read what the user enters using console.readLine. In this case, I'm going to take what they entered, I'm going to parse it as a double or convert it to a double, and then say A equals. So I'm going to assign that to the value of A. I'm going to do the same thing for side B. I'm going to enter the length of side B, wait for the user to respond. We're going to take what their response is with the readLine method, convert it to a double, and assign it to B. Calculate C, just as we did before. So I'm going to take the square root of A squared plus B squared. My area, I'm going to take A times B times 1/2, or 0.5. The perimeter, A plus B plus C, and then I want to write the results out. So here's my output. I'm just going to write a line of just some asterisk with the word results. Then we will show the side C, or the hypotenuse, and it's going to equal C.toString. I'm going to round that off to 2 decimal places. I'm going to do the same thing on the next line for the area, and then on the following line I'm going to show the perimeter, and again I'm going to round that off to 2 decimal places, and I just added another line of text in the program. Let's go ahead and test this. So I'm going to run the console, and this time I'll double our values, 8 and 6, and so I'm showing that side C is 10, the area is 24, and the perimeter is 24, and those are correct. So the biggest difference here is the input using readLine and the output using WriteLine and write, as opposed to getting text from a text box, converting it, and then outputting to a text box or label, which we've been doing. The code itself to do the processing is identical to what we used, or could be identical to what we used in the GUI application, our Windows Form application. I don't think we'll do any more console apps in the lessons that I have planned, and I don't give any assignments on console apps, but I just want you to be aware that this is what is happening when you encounter this in other resources and other textbooks.